that perhaps as an agent, you can ask yourself, like, why prospect? And you mentioned, there's a lot of phases in I guess the career lifespan of a realtor. You have the initial start where you get excited. You just got your license. You're going to call every single person that you know. Hey, I'm a realtor. And eventually it takes you just maybe a day or two, and you've made every single phone call that you know of in your sphere of influence, so to speak. And you've let everybody know that you're a realtor. Now what? What do you do now? You just wait for business to come to you?
Welcome, everybody. My name is Felix. I'm one of the moderators here at LabCoatAgents. And today I have the pleasure of having Israel and Allison from REDX here. And we are going to be talking about how you can build your sphere with prospecting, amongst other things, and everything with cold calling and prospecting here. So you guys probably don't know this, but there are some select lead companies like REDX that have agent success teams, and their job is to help you troubleshoot when you're not getting those results you're looking for in prospecting within their system. So let's start there. Allison and Israel, can you guys tell me what your job is and what you guys are doing on a daily basis when you're talking to your customers and your clients?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I would say our main goal is just to help our customers find success using the services. And so if that's, that one lead product isn't working for them, it could be switching them to another one to help them to find success in their business, because that's ultimately what we want. We want everyone to succeed using the software. So it's just to ask questions, help them make sure that they understand what they're using and how they're using it to be the most successful in what they're doing.
Right. And that encompasses, of course, using the actual software that we provide, the data that we provide, the tools, the dialer, anything that you may need to help you be successful. That's what we're here for.
Awesome. So can you walk me through some sample calls or things that agents will bring up when on the call, maybe from a new agent perspective, or maybe a new caller jumping into buying leads and calling, or maybe someone who is more seasoned that is running into some issues?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. One of I would say the most common is that they just don't have time. They say, oh, I just don't have time to do this. I just don't have time to do this. And I personally, my opinion is going to be that that's going to boil down to I'm not prioritizing this and I'm too scared to make calls. There's a lot of fear that is behind prospecting and making calls, and it can be scary. It can be scary to feel rejected. No one likes to be rejected, right? Like that's never fun. But it's just scary to get on the phone and talk to someone that you don't know. You don't know how they're going to react. You don't know what they're going to say. But someone that is successful is really going to get on the phone and just make those calls regardless and set aside time to do that. And so I feel like that's one of the number one concerns, is that they're just scared and they just don't make the time to do it.
Yeah. Another potential challenge is based on how comfortable you are on the computer, just using software and being able to kind of just manage through that. There are some bumps along the road as well that we can easily help with. We have a help center that we can guide you to if you're kind of just help yourself type of person, or you can just call us and we will guide you through getting you to the point where you can start making those calls. Like Allison said, at that point, it's on you, and we can talk a lot about accountability and what it takes to be successful here. But ultimately, our goal is to get you to that point where you can start making these calls and start building yourself some business.
Awesome. And do you guys go through like an onboarding process with your new clients to help ensure their success?
We do.
Yeah, the first week they get a string of emails that are going to walk them through just first getting them logged in, watching a basic webinar that walks them through the most simplest things of it's Vortex is what our software is called, to walk them through that. And then there's also links to podcasts or similar to kind of what we're doing right now of discussing that can help these agents to get started and just to get that motivation to make those first calls. There's also links to, like he mentioned, our help center that has many articles for agents to use to get them started. So.
And you know, sometimes it's difficult for agents to get started in prospecting. What kind of tips can you recommend for that? And how can REDX and your system help them out to accomplish their prospecting and ultimately their income goals?
Let me jump on this one. Yeah. So the first question is why prospect, right? I think that's the first question that perhaps as an agent you can ask yourself, like why prospect? And you mentioned, you know, there's a lot of phases in the, I guess, the career lifespan of a realtor. You have the initial start where you get excited, you just got your license, you're going to call every single person that you know, hey, I'm a realtor. You know, and eventually it takes you just maybe a day or two and you've made every single phone call that you know of in your sphere of influence, so to speak. And you've let everybody know that you're a realtor. Now what? What do you do now? You just wait for business to come to you. And of course, we know that that's not how it works, right? Creating a sphere of influence takes a lot of work, a lot of energy. And so the first question I think we need to ask is why the heck prospect? It's definitely not fun, right? Cold calling people and just cranking through numbers and trying to get a hold of somebody, getting rejected over and over. But there's a humongous benefit, right, to this. And we've proven it over and over again. We did a survey with thousands of our customers and also surveyed thousands of just non-customers for REDX to see just kind of what the differences are. And we determined that 3 times as much closings is what you have by prospecting, right? And so we've proven over and over and over again, we've done other surveys that have shown that this stuff works. If you can get past the pain points, it works. And I'd love to at some point during this webinar, talk about some of those success stories. I won't get into that at this very moment, but the ultimate question is why do it? And the short answer is because it works, because it absolutely works. The second that you get a hold of somebody and you're able to either sell or find them a house, you've now created a new sphere of influence for yourself that's going to give you more business. That person's going to recommend you. That person's going to think of you for the next time that they have a transaction. If somebody asks them, hey, you know a great realtor? I know somebody who just helped me sell my house or helped me find the house, right? And so your sphere starts to exponentially grow just because you made one contact. So it's not that one contact that you made, right? You maybe fumbled through 100 phone calls and you got a hold of 8. And out of those 8, maybe you set one appointment, right? Those numbers are not very encouraging. But what can that one connection do for you? You know, what can that one closing do for you? You now have that person in your pocket. You now have that person in your contacts, and they're going to bring you business. And so you do that over and over and over and over again, and now you're building yourself a sustainable business.
Wow, that's a great reminder that when we're prospecting and when we actually get a client to attach to us, it's a relationship, and they're now part of our sphere, and that could be repeat business in the future. It could be referral business in the future. And it's a great reminder that it's not just for that one transaction. Potentially there could be exponential transactions that come from that one person or that one contact.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So you talked about like pain points. What are like the typical like pain points that some of the beginner callers that are on REDX experience, and what advice do you give them?
I would say a lot of them, they just don't know where to get started. Like they're which lead type to call, when do I call, who do I talk to, and what to say when I talk to them, and they just don't know how to get started. And really, for me, I like to tell them, hey, let's get the first awkward call out of the way. And that's when I encourage them to call into our role play queue, which is something that we offer to our customers, to our paying customers, where they can call in from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Time. and they can role play with one of our reps. And I say it's to get that first awkward call out of the way, so you can be like, okay, I got that done with, and now we can go on to like actually talking to people and feeling a little bit more comfortable because you've already done it. You've done it. You've got someone on the phone that's not gonna yell at you or, you know, call you bad names or whatever. They're gonna be nice, give you some feedback, and help you through it. And so that's why one of the first things I would say, I would also encourage someone to maybe try 1 or 2 lead types, try it out for a couple months. And if it's not working for you, try a new one, try a different one. And it's okay to, you know, if you're not into calling expireds, maybe it's FSBOs that you're better at. So it's finding what works best for you.
I think also it has to do with the perspective of what you're doing. If you're going into this to just try out 10 phone calls and you're like, you know what, I dialed 10 numbers, I got 0 that picked me up and 1 cussed me out, I'm done. This doesn't work. You can't come into this like that, right?
Right.
So prospecting is hard. That's thing number 1, right? If I'm gonna sit here and tell you, hey, there's this easy button that you hit, and now you have all these clients, like, congratulations, you hit the button. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. I compare it somewhat to like fitness, right? I think anybody who's gone through any type of fitness journey knows that the people that you see that are in insane shape, right? You're like, how did you do this? And they're like, well, let me tell you how I did this. And it took years, and it took, you know, accountability and determination and self-motivating and so on and so forth. It's the same thing. You approach this, and we can get you to that point, right? That's what REDX does. We can give you the data, we can give you the tools, we can give you the lead types. We're all encompassing. We'll give it to you. But then at that point, we'll get you to the gym, okay? We'll get you to the gym, but you got to lift the weights, okay? And when you get there, it's repetitive. We like to say, and I'll quote some of our customers, some of our most successful customers, and these are some of the things that they say. There is no such thing as a wrong number. There's no such thing. It doesn't matter who you got on the line. It doesn't matter if it's the wrong person. It doesn't matter if it's a wrong name. You can spin that into a contact of some sort.
It's someone
I'm sorry. Right. Sorry. What was that?
Oh, it's someone to talk to.
Right. It's someone to talk to. I'm sorry. This is the wrong person. I apologize. I thought I was calling this individual. But while I have you on the line, just wondering, are you interested in selling or in the future selling, or have you given it any thought? We got a crazy market right now. Can I come back to you with an analysis of what I could do for you? And now all of a sudden you got somebody on the line who's like, you know what? I never thought about it, but it is a crazy market. Why don't you send me something? I'd love to see what I can sell my house for. Boom. You just turn that wrong number into something special. And so if you go into it with that mindset, it's a very different approach. And while I'm on that subject, if I may, another angle that a lot of our successful customers utilize is truly, and you have to truly believe this, is that you're calling to offer a real service, a real solution. You are not some cold calling robot, right? We all get what's that? The one that calls about the warranty, the car warranty, that bot robot. Everybody gets it, right? Your car warranty is about to expire, and it's like the worst phone call ever. That's not what this is. You are calling somebody to give them a potential solution to something that they were either not able to do, not realizing that they could do, or they have past experiences from other agents that maybe weren't great, and you can come and offer a solution to them. But you have to truly believe that first before you make these calls. You're not calling as a nuisance, you're calling to help, and you're calling to be a solution. And if you can truly, truly believe that before you make these phone calls, it really changes the tone that you come with, and it changes the nerves that you come with as well, because you're like, you know what, I am calling to help. And you can spin that, however the call goes, you can spin that to say, hey, I'm here to actually help, to help you. And so I think that's a very powerful mindset.
I would totally agree with that. I've cold called in the past also, and same thing as what Israel was saying. You have to believe in the product, which is yourself.
Right.
Do you believe in the service that you provide the consumers out there in the world? And great analogy with the gym. I would compare it to dating, right? So did you marry the first person you dated? Did you stop dating?
Right.
Right.
You had to probably go on a couple of dates here. So REDX here is
Right.
ready to line you up with a whole bunch of dates. You just have to do the prospecting to find the one. Okay. So Allison, you mentioned that there, you recommend sometimes that they call different times of the day.
Yeah.
Do you find that there is like a perfect time to call during the day? Like what responses and what type of dialogue do you go with when people are calling in saying, well, when should I call?
That's a great question. Yeah, I do feel like there are going to be better times to call to set you up for success. And it also does depend on your lead type. For example, like let's talk about expireds. If you're focusing on calling expireds, you're going to get those leads 7 o'clock in the morning. Probably don't want to call right at 7, but people usually start calling around 8 in the morning. And there's usually a lot of people that start calling then, right? And so I would say that my recommendation would be to call Monday morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you crank out a couple hours of prospecting. Take a break from a bit. I'm sure you have appointments or things to go do, and then do an evening prospecting session, whether that's going to be Tuesday night or Wednesday night, while you still have your daily prospecting sessions. But do one in the evening that maybe you can catch them at home, maybe 4 to 6 or 7 p.m. where they're going to be home and not at work. Maybe they can take your call at a different time than they would have normally been available. And then I'd probably do 1 or 2 weekend prospecting sessions, maybe like Saturday afternoon or even like Sunday morning. And fitting those in, you're fitting them in at times that people are more likely to be home and available to take a call. Whereas I know a lot of times, I might be in a meeting during the week, during the daytime, and I just can't take a call right then, or I can't talk about my house at that moment. And so by having these different times that you're prospecting, you're setting yourself up for success to reach out to multiple people at different times. We also do recommend calling leads or phone numbers more than once. So let's say, you call someone Monday morning and you get a voice message, call them back on your next evening prospecting session, or call them back that weekend, and call them at least 3 times, and you're going to get in way more contact with people by doing that.
Awesome. So great tips here. And I think what we have to understand as real estate agents is we forget what life looks like as a non-real estate agent. So
Right.
I tell my team all the time, it doesn't mean that they're not serious when they raise their hand. Sometimes life is happening. I've got a newborn, so my son, or infant, I've got a 6-month-old son. So if my son is crying, I could be waiting for your phone call, but I'm not going to pick up because I don't want to have to have you listen to my son crying. Or I may have groceries that I'm bringing in the house, or I may be solving a problem for a transaction. It doesn't mean that your call is not important to me. It just means that life is happening.
Right.
You just have to follow up and catch me at the right time where I will actually pick up your phone call. So we have to remember these consumers out there that are expireds and FSBOs and for rent by owner, we just have to catch them at a time where it's optimal for them to pick up. So Allison, your recommendation is awesome. So call in the morning, first thing at 8 o'clock for expired, but also for any lead type, you want to vary the time of day between morning, afternoon, evening, weekend days to see when they're available. Not everyone works a 9 to 5. So we don't know. They could be at work. Some people can't pick up. Some people can at work. So great recommendation there. So I talked to you offline a little bit about what I'm planning for my team. I've got a lot of brand new agents that are coming on board under the age of 25. I got started at 22. I'm 40 now. It was really tough. I had people discriminate against me for my age. So 22 looking 15. Right. and so I had to hide behind mailers and cold calling and things like that. So what would your advice be to somebody who's just getting started in calling? like what, so Israel said about mindset and believing in the product and service. That was awesome. What would be the next step? So I think I want to call. I think I want to sign up for REDX. What would be the next step in that process?
So I think, so that's a tough, it's a tough way to get in, right? No matter how it is, it's tough to get in. So to break in, right? Nobody cares what you think you can do. They care about what you've actually done, right? It's like, oh, this is what I think I can do for you versus, hey, let me show you all the stuff that I've done. And so it is difficult. So that's again, realization number one is accepting the fact that I'm coming in and it's going to be hard. That's one, I think. Two is creating some type of a script for yourself. At first, you're not, as you get better and better at this, your script becomes just a natural thing because you now have, this toolbox of experiences that you can pull from. You don't have that at first. And so you got to kind of start with a script. I'm not a humongous fan of scripts in general. I don't like them. I think they sound, if you don't do them right, you sound robotic. You sound literally scripted. And I think people pick up on that very easily. So it's not a matter of holding a script while you're calling and reading from it. It's a matter of prepping with your script, really reading your script, learning it, memorizing it, knowing different angles where your script might go to, so that you're ready to sound like you are confident in what you're saying and that you believe in what you're selling, which is yourself, right? Once again, you're selling yourself. And so as a new agent and somebody who doesn't have a ton of transactions under their belt, there are a few things that you can do that will help you get to the next point. Okay, one is amazing service. It doesn't matter if you're 50 years old and been doing this for 25 years, or you're 25 years old and you've been doing this for a month. Amazing service will get you to the next step, period. And that's the background that I come from. That is literally what I do for REDX is to create this amazing level of service for our customers, which is what agents should be doing for clients, right? Go the extra mile, go above and beyond, be prepared with your information. If you don't have an answer, don't make something up. Literally just be like, you know what, I'm not sure, but let me get back to you with this information, and come back to them with that information and some. And let me, if I could share just a quick little a story about why this is so powerful and maybe how it ties into creating your sphere of influence. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of friends. I just moved here about a year ago. I had to find a house in this almost impossible market right now, right? And so, and I have friends who are realtors who, before I moved here, were like, hey, I'm a realtor and it's a friend of mine. And I'm like, listen, I'm coming into a combat zone right now, right? I love you. I have a friend named Diego. I'm like, I appreciate you, but he was, at this point, I contacted a close friend of mine to say, hey, I need like the Rambo of realtors in this area, right? I need to know that this person can actually find me a house. And he's like, I know just the guy. And so he recommends me somebody. And sure enough, this gentleman finds me a house in this very difficult market. He was incredibly patient, went above and beyond. Just amazing, right? The kind of realtor who's like, hey, if this guy can't find you a house, there is no house. Go live somewhere else, right? And so that's the kind of perception that I got from him. And so what's going to happen now is that every single person that comes to me to ask me, this is a crazy market, who do you recommend? I'm going to recommend Carl. I'm going to say, hey, go see Carl, because if he can't find you a house, there's no house for you. And so, And the thing I'm trying to illustrate with this is the power of that one transaction. Going back to the power of that one transaction, going back to your new realtors, going back to those that are just starting out. Be patient. Get to that first transaction. When you get to the first transaction, freaking blow them out of the water. I mean, just give them so much service, go above and beyond to the point that they will recommend you for the rest of their lives. Okay, do not just look at it as a transaction. look at it as an opportunity to really wow them. That's what this gentleman did for me. My wife, at the last day we were here, she was in tears because we were just like, okay, I guess we're going to have to rent. You know, we're moving from Georgia to Utah. We're going to have to rent because it's impossible, right? And he looked at the options. He said, look, there's nothing in this range that you guys are looking for. But if you give me a chance based on everything that you've given me, all the information and what you're looking for, give me a chance to come up with one more option for you before you go. And he was able to come up. We bought for $150,000 more than what we intended to buy, right? But here's the kicker, is that this gentleman did that because there was no other option, right? This realtor did that because there is nothing in this price range. Can we look at this? And can we look at some of the rates to see if maybe the monthly payment you thought was gonna, you know, what you were expecting still kind of matches? And so he really got into it to where he was like, I'm offering you a solution. It's not exactly what we intended, but let's give this a shot. And we walked in and that was the exact house that we were looking for. We were happy to pay more than what we had intended to because it solved a problem for us. This individual was able to really, really listen to what we needed and realize that, you know, at this point, we got to think outside the box. And so come with that approach, come with the knowledge that it's going to be hard, come with the realization that when you do have one on the line, you're going to really, really blow them out of the water.
Blow it out of the water.
You have to. You have no choice. You have to, right?
Yeah, awesome. And I'll add to that also that for my newer agents, they impress clients with their follow-up, with their communication, and that comes across really, really well. Right. So when you do that. Now, Michael has a question about if you guys have any data regarding what lead source works best in certain states, certain areas, certain metro areas. Do you have any data like that that you guys keep internally that you guys share?
That's a great question. Not necessarily. So what we do have data on is, for example, like FSBOs or FURBOs, pre-foreclosures. If you want to know about how many leads you're going to get, then, you know, we can tell you that. Or like, for example, geo leads, you just get a flat 2,000 credits per month. And so you just know you can get, okay, this is how many leads. Expireds, that's going to be dependent on your MLS and just how many expireds there are in your MLS. The reason why there's not necessarily data that's just best in specific states and areas is because it's really up to you. It's up to the agent and prospecting and how many hours you are prospecting and the effort that you're putting into prospecting, and the more effort that you put in, the more you're going to get out of it.
Right. And it's Evan.
Go ahead, Israel.
No, sorry. So it ebb and flows too with some of those, right? So right now here, the expired market here in Utah, it's still out there. That's still a wonderful product and lead type to pursue, but things aren't just not expiring right now. Things are selling. And so that would be something to look at as well. But mostly what Allison is saying, it's, you just got to get in there and you got to do it.
And so great segue. So what's a good schedule? So you said working hard and how many hours you're prospecting. So what does a good prospecting or phone schedule look like if I want success?
That's a great question. So you want to take that one?
Sure.
Okay. So there's no perfect recipe for it, right? So I don't know. I can tell you what some of our top prospectors do. And they start with creating the accountability, right? So it doesn't matter if you're going to do it 1 hour, 4 hours, 2 hours, it's consistency. So I can't quite tell you, hey, you need to now schedule 3 hours of your day every day to do this. You might not have that. So you might have an hour, you might have 2 hours. It just depends, right? So I don't want to prescribe an amount to you, but I will tell you that creating accountability, and I'll give you the example of one of our customers that came and she spoke very powerfully about her journey and how she created accountability for herself. And she said, you know, I'm not a self-motivated person most of the time, right? I'm going to cop out. I just know I'm going to cop out. When it's time to call, I'm going to be like, you know what? The first bad call I get, it's over. It's it. I'm done. And so she decided to get a group of about 5 agents with her. And she said, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we put a couple $100 down? And we commit, all of us, that 8 o'clock in the morning, we come in here and we do this for an hour every single day. And whoever goes missing, right, whoever does not show up loses that money, and it gets spread out into this small group. And they would do that, and they would cash in all the time, right? If somebody missed, and nobody wants to lose $200, right? You don't want to start off your day that way. And so you have this, she created almost like a fun accountability for her to be able to really get past what she knew was a challenge for her, which was just pushing through and getting herself to do it. So really, it's consistency is I think the answer to your question. Whatever it is, do it every day. Create a sense of accountability for yourself, or create a group of people that hold each other accountable. I mean, going back to the fitness example, a gym buddy, right? Or even just a gym class of some kind, where if you go missing, somebody's going to call you and be like, hey, where were you? You punked out today. It's the same concept. You want to get yourself to the point where you're consistently doing it. And I think that's the key, is getting whatever works for you and your schedule and your life. Do that over and over and over and over. And I promise you, success will come. It may take some time, and you got to be patient through it, but it will come. Anything to add to that?
No, I think that's great.
So I'll tell you a problem I used to have with cold calling, and it was like the warm up period. So sometimes I would be on it right when I called in the morning, and sometimes I need some time to warm up and get comfortable on the phone, even though I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was going to say. Maybe it was what you maybe mentioned before, the prospecting mindset, but how do we get into that mindset quickly where I don't have to warm up with 15 to 45 minutes of phone calls before I get going and get comfortable?
Right.
An idea that I actually was just thinking about is, maybe it's going to be calling someone that you're a little bit more comfortable with off the bat. And so maybe it's calling a past client. If you're new, maybe it's calling someone an acquaintance, someone that that is going to give you a good response, someone that's going to be happy to talk to you. And it can be, hey, I just wanted to catch up. I wanted to see how you're doing. Just so you know, I'm new into real estate. If you're ever looking to sell your home, I'd love to help you with it. I want to help you to have a great experience, and X, Y, and Z. You can keep going with that with how you want. But you can call these people knowing that, okay, I'm going to have a good experience with them, and you're getting some sphere of influence calls in, and then be like, okay, I've gotten 5 of those in. Let's jump in. We're going to call some other people now. And then you can get calling on those, and maybe that can be a little bit of a warm up.
Right. The role play is the other. I know we touched on that, but role play is a way to get on the phone. It's a service that we have for our customers. And we have different scripts that we go by. You can do level 1, 2, 3. Like, we're super nice on level 1, and we're gonna cuss you out on level 3, right? So you get the first cussing out of the way, and so now you're like, okay, I feel good now. And so we do that because breaking the ice is hard, right? I love Allison's example. Is get some of those. Prospecting doesn't mean just cold calling. Prospecting means anything in your sphere of influence, right? Any contact that you made from the week prior, any follow-up, as you mentioned, Felix, follow-up is critical. And so maybe you start your day with follow-ups. Hey, we spoke a couple of months ago, just checking in. And that's a way to break that ice, so that by the time you're getting some of these calls in, you're nice and warmed up, right?
And you can use our system to organize your leads. So maybe you call someone, they're like, oh, give me a call back in 3 months. You can create, a folder that you can put those leads in to be able to call in 3 months. And then you can go in. For example, if I were a real estate agent, I would have my Vortex set up as I would have a folder for every month of the year. And if I'm talking to someone and they're like, hey, I want to call back at this time, I would put them in the folder of, say, December. And I would then, go into that folder in December, and I would start calling those people back and being like, hey, you asked me to give you a call back at this time. I'd still love to help you sell your home. How's this going? You've taken some notes on the past call, maybe ask some questions about their family. How's this going? How's this going? And you can get those follow-up calls done first. And like Israel said, to get the warm up in and start calling those people that you've already talked to. And then you can get into the new people, the fresh list.
Great recommendations. So start with some easy calls, start with some calls, you won't feel that rejection. I like the level 3 actually. So
Yeah.
I know my friend Alvin Tappy and I, we both are ex military veterans here, and we like to say in the Army, train as you fight. So that's training as you fight. You're going to get some people that are angry and they're gonna cuss you out, and if you experience that even in a role-playing setting, it make it easier when you actually experience it. So Alan actually asked a question. So he said, hey, is it best not to leave a voicemail, or do you leave a voicemail? So what is your recommendation to your customers and clients when they're calling? Do we leave voicemail? Should we leave voicemail? What do you think?
That's a great question. I was actually reading through our forum just a little bit ago, just so you guys know, we have a forum that you can access through our Vortex. It's a place you can go and talk to other real estate agents. And I was reading a comment on there from one of our agents that was saying that they like to leave a voice message because then when they call back, it's not a random number anymore. They can put a name and a voice message to the phone number and say, oh, okay, it's not a spam. That's not someone I don't know. I know that they've left a voice message. I know why they're calling. And that was one of the recommendations from a real estate agent. So.
Right. And I think it's a preference, honestly. If you're looking to try that number 3 times before you give up on it, then maybe that's your approach. Otherwise, you can always, by leaving a voicemail, it's almost a follow-up. Right? You're like, hey, I left you a message. And so it's like, well, who the heck are you? Well, it doesn't matter. I left you a message. So it's the guy who left you a message calling you back. And so it does kind of warm it up a little more, right? Hey, I called you a few days ago and left a message. And so it's a tool. It's a tool that you can use, and it's used in different ways by our customers. So recommendation wise, it's what you're most comfortable with, right? If you're going to use that as a way of kind of warming up that second phone call, then absolutely, by all means. If you're going to hit that number until they actually pick up, then hit that number until they pick up. Maybe it's not the approach you want to take.
Absolutely.
So I know we touched base on this. I would like to go back and revisit it. You mentioned that you wanted to share some of the success stories and maybe lifestyle changes that you've been able to help customers and clients with. I would love to hear some of those. Maybe from different market areas, maybe from different backgrounds and experiences that you guys would like to share.
Absolutely. So I wrote down a couple here. And let me start with a statistic. I mentioned that we had surveyed thousands of realtors, right, to come up with these numbers that sometimes we throw out at you. It's not like we pulled them out of a hat. These are our clientele base that we survey, and then also just realtors in general to see, okay, how does this compare? One of the things that I thought was incredibly compelling is 60% of agents who earn $250,000 plus per year still knock doors. So they still go out and knock doors, still grinding, still going. They got a pretty good thing going already for themselves, but they're out there knocking. I'm not talking about calling. I'm talking about knocking doors, okay? And of the 60%, 3/4 of them, they utilize at least 3 prospecting methods, which could be phone, door knocking, mail. And of course, now we have social media, which is another avenue that you can take, but they do not automate the personal touch points, right? Creating real connections. You can't automate that. So you can't just send it. You can't send out a mailer and be like, okay, let's just see what sticks. You really got to try to build these connection points, which only happen through that phone call. It only happens through that door knocking. It only happens through that connection, however that is. And so recently we had a panel of customers that came and spoke to us about their success stories. We wanted our reps to see like what impact we help produce for individuals, right? And so 2 of these individuals, and I'll just use their first names, but one was Paula and one was Racer. They came and they spoke on just kind of where their life. Paula had a really rough upbringing. She had made some terrible choices and eventually found herself deciding, you know what, I'm going to just do what I think is good for me in my life. I'm going to try to pursue this career, and I'm just going to grind through it. And she's actually the one that I referenced earlier that created that sense of accountability, because she was completely terrified of making these calls, and she knew she was going to punk out. She just knew it. And so she said, here's a solution for myself. I'm going to create this accountability group. And she's 10 years, I think she said. I think she's been doing it for about 10 years. She's been a REDX customer for over 10 years. She's making a ton of money right now, and still does the $100 thing, still does it, because she recognizes the power of continuing to grow her sphere of influence. If she can't handle her clientele base because it grew too much, well, guess what? Now she can pass it on and refer business to other realtors. And so the business continues to grow at that point for her. Racer was another customer that came, and same story, was down to his last dollar, ended up getting a actual loan from somebody to get some of the products that we sell here. So it was down like literally negative dollars, and was like, and this is the nothing to lose mentality, as I like to say it. This gentleman had literally nothing to lose. And so he said, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to not stop. Whatever it is that this service tells me to do, whatever it is that you guys tell me to do, I will do it. What do I need to do? And it was simple. It was, here's data, here's tools, just call every single day, just call every single day. And he came and spoke to us as well. And he's doing amazing, and also continues to prospect. He doesn't do quite as much as Paula, it didn't sound like, but he still prospects and still does it. And he mentioned that it was to remind him of that grind. He never wants to forget how he got to where he was now, right? So he wanted to remember it, so he continues to do that. And the last one was actually somebody that grew from within. His name is Kent. He was one of our sales reps. He helped sell this to many agents. And along the way, he was like, you know what, this sounds pretty amazing. I'm going to give this a try. And, knowing all the stuff that we obviously do to train agents and to help them be successful, he utilized that same exact recipe for himself, and he's doing fantastic now as well. But what I want to get to with these three stories is they all have three things in common. All three of them are doing fantastic. They have really a sustainable business at this point, where they don't have to cold call anymore. They have enough clientele that refers clientele, and it's already, the traction's already going, but they still prospect. They still prospect because they realize that their sphere of influence can continue to grow, and there's no limit to that. And for some, it's just a reminder also of where they came from and how they got to where they are. They don't want to get comfortable. And so that's a mindset that I think is important for anyone to remember, is don't get comfortable. Even if you start to see traction, don't stop, keep going, because eventually you'll have a gigantic sphere of influence that you can make decisions at that point. I have too much business, I now have to pass it on to somebody else. What an amazing problem to have, right?
That's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
I
Go
did see
ahead,
a
Allison.
chat from, let's see here, from Trisha that I wanted to address here. She asks if REDX provides email addresses. She said she has the GeoLead subscription, and they tend to get a lot of DNC numbers, and it'd be helpful for the numbers we cannot call to have email addresses. And Trisha, we have what you need, so I just wanted to make sure we got that out there. You can actually upgrade to what's called GeoLeads Plus. Gives you 5,000 credits instead of 2,000 credits per month, and it also pulls email addresses for as many leads as we can provide. So if you want to just give us a call, we'd love to help you get that added on. So
Yeah, and so you can hit them up by email addresses, social media. So with email addresses, you could probably Google their email addresses and see what pops up, any profiles that pop up. So that's great. That's another added benefit there. So do you guys have any closing thoughts? Anything else that would help someone that is maybe not getting the results that they want to with cold calling? What would you guys recommend as we close this up?
I would just say, what else can you do? Can you call someone else? Is there another lead source you can call? Can you practice a different script? What else can you do? And are you giving everything your best effort? I would just remind people to give it everything, and the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. So.
And what I would say is, don't give up. We've talked a lot of customers off the ledge. I have a story. One of our reps, her name is Diana. She had a caller that said, you know what, this is just not for me. I'm sorry. This is just terrible. I every time I call, it feels like it's a wrong number, or it feels like someone's yelling at me. And Diana, our rep, talked her off the ledge and said, you know what, let's do this. Give me one more chance. Let's role play one more time, right? Let's role play one more time and give it one more try. And she said, okay, I'll do it. And she got a dang appointment out of that after not long after that, and was able to actually follow up with her and be very grateful to her. But now her, she's got traction. And once you got traction, it gets better, but don't give up, and be consistent with whatever it is you choose you can do. Whether it's an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, it doesn't matter. Just consistent. No such thing as a wrong number, right? We can give you data. Data is public sources. It's not always correct. Yes, but you know what? Eventually you're going to hit the gold mine. And when you get that one customer, just remember, you got to blow them out of the water, right? And then from there, you'll get more traction. So there's light at the end of the tunnel, just push through it. That would be the thing I would suggest.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on and your time today. I'm sure the audience got a whole lot of value out of it. I do want to just note what one of our admins, Jake, is putting out there. So there's an exclusive offer for REDX for LCA members. So if you want to sign up now, they will waive the entire setup fee, and that's $150 in savings. So the link is in the chat. We'll probably also post it in the replay videos on YouTube and in our LCA group. So make sure you take advantage of this great offer, and make sure you take advantage of all of the tools that REDX has. I love the role playing level 3. Give me level 3.
Always level 3, baby. I love it.
I love the role playing number that you can just call. I love that they have client success staff that really is there to keep you accountable, and also to help you from maybe an outsider's point of view, to tell you maybe what you should adjust to get better results. So that is awesome. I thank you guys so much for your time today. And guys, take advantage of this offer, guys. Hope you guys have a great day. Much success to all of you guys. Until we talk again.